Hi, I'm Andy from DEVCON, and I'd like to walk you through our ad tech security products. Before we get started, I'd like to talk a little bit about the difference between ad fraud and ad threat. When people talk about ad fraud, they typically mean IVT, or invalid traffic. And that's when bots and other fraudulent implementations inflate the performance of a website, and the advertiser is victimized by buying audiences that aren't legitimate or might not even be human. When we talk about ad threat, we're trying to combat malvertising, where the digital ad ecosystem is exploited to deliver viruses or scams or any number of things through a publisher to their user. So it's the publisher and the end user that are victimized by ad threat. And as Fast Company points out, the highly complex online advertising ecosystem makes it super difficult for publishers to find this stuff, let alone stop it. So how can we help? Well, first, let's talk about how this malvertising gets into the system. So here's a typical news site, and as the user scrolls down, it's time to load an ad. So you know the drill from here. You're going to call an ad server, or in the case of programmatic advertising, probably multiple ad servers. Now, there are some header bidding and standards like ads.txt that have helped mitigate this scenario, but in practice, it's still usually kind of a game of hot potato when an ad call like this happens. And so that means that you could ultimately end up with a demand partner that you don't have a direct relationship with. And when the demand partner is that far away from your actual site, that opens the door for bad actors. And when they get into the system, you end up with things like this on your site. So the real issue here is that for a publisher, not only is this disruptive to the user experience, you lose out on getting paid for this impression, and you probably lose the user session, but also the user doesn't realize, your audience doesn't understand that this ad was not placed there on purpose. To them, it seems like an ad that they get, across the internet. And for all they know, it was placed there initially. So how does a publisher combat this? What is a publisher supposed to do? Well, it helps to understand how these bad actors are working. See, their main goal is to look legitimate until they get into the browser. So if they can hide themselves and keep from revealing themselves as malicious until then their work is done. They can hide from network platforms in a few ways. So sometimes it's as simple as encrypting the script that goes along with the ad, and then training those scripts not to reveal themselves if they're being observed. So there's a lot of ingenious ways that they can do that, and they've gotten very good at it. Now, this is in part because they don't face the same kind of market pressures that publishers do. They can afford to have some false positives and to be extra careful, as long as that means they get to hide, right? And then there are some other technical ways that they can avoid detection, like they can pack the script into an image file and create what's called a polyglot file to avoid format detection, or they can deliver a seemingly normal ad through a system, and then once it's in the browser, open up a connection with web standards like the WebRTC protocol, which allows them to have a back channel to deliver the malicious code, and they don't even have to go through the ad server. So there's a lot of ways that this stuff is engineered specifically to avoid upstream detection. And there's only so many broad restrictions that publishers or their network partners can put into place before it becomes totally cost prohibitive to do so. But there is one place that the bad ads can't help but reveal themselves, and that's right at the end when they're in the browser. And so that's where we live to stop them. We get delivered into the browser by the publisher when they load the page, or by a network or CDN partners when they deliver the content. And our code is incredibly easy to install. It's lightweight, and it loads asynchronously, so we don't slow down ads or page loads. We use the fastest geolocated CDNs to ensure that our network latency is low. And once we're there, we keep an eye on the third-party calls and what comes back, working like an antivirus software for the web page. So the bad actors could avoid detection before they get there, but as soon as they reveal themselves in the browser, we catch them and block them before the scripts can execute. And then we can take that ad slot and make a new call and get a quality impression in place of the malvertising we blocked. So you save that impression, you save your user, from a bad ad or for worse, and you save all the operational overhead that it takes to track down those bad ads, turn on and off demand sources. We've seen that those three things combined, the impressions, the audience, and the operation, can cost an average publisher up to 30% of their programmatic revenue. This is supposed to be a very high margin business, but many publishers don't realize how much they're spending simply to mitigate problems with putting it into place. And so in addition to rescuing that revenue, DEVCON also acts as a support team when this kind of thing happens, when an attack occurs. And whether it's preserving the brand reputation of a partner like Waco Media or just being quick to respond to report tickets from Encyclopedia Britannica, our goal is to be a reliable source of solutions for our clients. Now, we've created a free version of our platform that anybody can use for a couple of reasons. We want small sites to have access to the protection too. We believe that a more secure internet is critical for a fair and open exchange of information and for the health of industries like journalism and alternative media. And finally, we want to make it really easy to try us even if you're a larger organization. So we're set up to give you a full-fledged free trial so you can evaluate our functionality. So no matter the size of your organization, we would love to hear from you. You can find us on social media or contact us through our website at devcondetect.com. Thanks.